Hey Wellspring family, my name is Victoria. My husband Bruce is the student pastor here at Wellspring, and today is day 11 of our prayer challenge. Today we're going to be talking about the fruits of the Spirit. And I will be reading today from Galatians 5:22 through 26. And I'm going to be reading those verses in the Message translation. And I chose to read from the Message translation because growing up, I had always heard the fruits of the Spirit, probably with what you all are most familiar with as love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And I've had to memorize those all my life, going to a Christian school. I know songs about them. I was in a play where kids dressed up as giant fruit. So those are the fruits of the Spirit that I am most familiar with. But when I looked at the Message translation, instead of listing out the list of the fruits of the Spirit that we're most used to, this translation actually describes each word and defines what it means. So I'm going to be reading from the Message today, and as I go through and it defines the fruits of the Spirit, I'll be saying what that fruit is. So this is Galatians 5:22 through 26. But what happens when we live God's way? He brings gifts into our lives much the same way that fruit appears in an orchard. Things like affection for others, which would be love, exuberance about life, joy, serenity, which would be peace. We develop a willingness to stick with things, patience, a sense of compassion in our heart, which would be kindness, and a conviction that a basic holiness permeates things and people, which would be goodness. We find ourselves involved in loyal commitments, which would be faithfulness, not needing to force our way in life, gentleness, and able to marshal and direct our energies wisely, which would be self-control. And if we keep reading in those verses, it says, legalism is helpless in bringing this about. It only gets in the way. Among those who belong to Christ, everything connected with getting our own way and mindlessly responding to what everyone else calls necessity is killed off for good, crucified. Since this is the kind of life we have chosen, the life of the Spirit, let us make sure that we do not just hold it as an idea in our heads or a sentiment in our hearts, but work out its implications in every details of our lives. That means we will not compare ourselves with each other as if one of us were better and another one worse. We have far more interesting things to do with our life. Each of us is an original. And as I was reading through those verses, it became clear to me that I just wanted that to be my prayer going forward with our church, that we would be a people that has overwhelming affection for others, that has an exuberance about life and overwhelming serenity, that we would develop a willingness to stick with things, a sense of compassion in our hearts, and that we would have a conviction that a basic holiness permeates things and people. That we would find ourselves involved in loyal commitments, that we would not need to force our way in life, and that we would be able to marshal and direct our energies wisely. That's been my prayer for our church, and it will continue to be my prayer going forward. Hope you all have a great day.